Hi, I'm Cheryl from Travel Turtles and just wanted to share our experience and give you some tips on our 5 weeks in Morocco. So we're doing a slow travel trip. We've quit our jobs and we're just traveling the world. So that's why we spent 5 weeks in Morocco, just taking our time, not rushing through. So a lot of this information can be applied to shorter itineraries. It's just our impressions of an amazing country. So, is it worth the trip? Yes, we would go back in a heartbeat. It was fascinating. Uh, so much on offer. It's got culture, it's got history, architecture, the cuisine, spectacular scenery, bit of adventure if that's what you're into. So, yes, definitely Morocco was well worth the trip. We found it safe. As with any country, you're going to find that there will be things that you need to do to keep yourself safe. Don't do anything stupid. Keep your valuables in a place that are not easily accessible. We have our pouch that is a cross-shoulder sling, and we found no problems with the safety at all. Um, Value, it was probably more expensive than what we were expecting, but we were also not skimping on things. So if you need to watch a budget, sure, it's a country that you can match whatever budget it is that you've got. And of course, it is an Islamic country, so there are a lot of things that if you're not from an Islamic country are going to be very different. So just being mindful of the cultural differences and being respectful of them. For women, what to wear, I was conservative. I never covered my hair. I wore dresses. Sometimes down to my knees. I was very conscious of the cultural differences. That wasn't the case for everybody. We certainly saw women walking around in clothes that even made us raise our eyebrows. So it's not as strict as we thought it would be. The other thing, before we went, we did a lot of research, and what we found was there was a lot of negativity around the scammers and being hassled. Sure, it happens, and if you're buying stuff, you do need to haggle, but that's part of the fun. Sometimes the research that we found was that it was all very, very negative and that you were going to be scammed every second of the day. That wasn't our experience at all. When people were trying to be our guides or get us to come into a restaurant or buy something, we just smile, politely say no, and keep walking. Didn't get hassled. Actually found that saying maybe later worked a lot. So they're genuinely quite friendly and they're just trying to do their job. So we stayed in 6 different cities in Morocco, and I'll just give you a brief rundown on our impressions of each city. So the first city we stayed in was Marrakech, also known as the Red City. I think every itinerary needs to have Marrakech, but just be aware it's crazy, it's very touristy. There's some, the locals are a bit jaded because everybody goes to Marrakech. The energy is amazing. It's crazy. In the Medina, there's just people everywhere. The square is crowded and busy. Scammers are everywhere. This was the place where we found that we got most hassled. It's very, very touristy, and things like the snake charmers and some of the stalls in the big square are just complete rip-offs. So avoid the big square. You've got to walk across it, have a look, but stay away from the snake charmers. It's an animal cruelty thing. And the stalls that set up there are just a rip-off. We also found that in the evenings they set up grill restaurants, just stalls, dozens of them. Avoid them like the plague. They are extremely poor quality food, they are very expensive, and they will rip you off. They're very, very friendly, and it's fun when they're trying to get you to come into their restaurant, but stay away, just stay away. We actually went to a restaurant that was on the edge of the square quite a few times called Snack El Yassini. The food was good, it was cheap, and the staff were really, really friendly, and you keep going back, so you got extra good service. It was good. So Marrakech, yeah, you get the pushy sales pitch everywhere you go. But like I said, it's an experience. Would we go back? No. We've done it once and enjoyed it, but it is what it is. The next city we went to was Essaouira, however you pronounce it. I still can't pronounce it. Also called the Windy City. We went there. We were in Morocco in July, so it was incredibly hot, mid 40s nearly every day. So Essaouira was a break from the heat for us. We had a week there, too long. It's a very, very relaxed city. It's on the coast, and we enjoyed our stay there, but there's not an awful lot to do. If you're into kite surfing or any of those windsurfing type activities, you can go to a kite surfing school and do that sort of stuff. But other than that, there's not an awful lot to do. The beach is nice, but it's very flat water. So if you're into waves and that sort of stuff, you're not going to get that. But kite surfing, awesome. Would we go back? No, we didn't not like it, but there's just not a lot to do. From there, we went to Rabat, the White City. It's the capital of Morocco, and it's very clean, it's modern, it's got quite a cosmopolitan vibe. So we really liked Rabat. Felt very relaxed and comfortable in Rabat. Some really nice things to see. The Casbah is beautiful. The mosques are gorgeous. We really enjoyed it. Some really nice food, great pastries, and just a nice vibe. The Medina was quite relaxed, and we really enjoyed the Medina. Actually got to do some window shopping, if you like, and didn't get hassled if we didn't buy anything. Would we go back? For sure. If we were going back to stay in Morocco for an extended period of time, Rabat would be one of the cities that we would consider staying in for a longer time. From Rabat, we travelled up to Fez. I really liked Fez. The Medina is fascinating, more than 900 streets, so easy to get lost. It's very old, it's hilly. It was a really interesting Medina. A little bit more on the pushy side because it's probably the second most visited city on the tourist trail, but some interesting things to do in and around Fez. We did a day trip out of Fez to the Roman ruins of Volubilis. It's about an hour and a half away. Really enjoyed that day trip. We just organised it through our Riyadh. That was a great little day trip. Would we go back to Fez? Probably not. The tourist vibe starting to get a little bit heavy there. From Fez, we went up to Chefchaouen, also known as the Blue City. Wow, just beautiful. Such a pretty, pretty city. Definitely recommend that you do at least a day trip to Chefchaouen. I would suggest overnight. It's nice to be able to walk around the Medina before all the crowds start. Lots of photo opportunities around every corner. They've got, you can do the best photo places where they've got paid opportunities to take your Insta photos. But I think there's so many photo opportunities. You don't need to pay for the gimmicky setup sites that they've got. It's starting to get touristy because it's being discovered, but we found people were still really friendly, and we loved our time in Chefchaouen. Would we go back? No, it's a thing to see. There's not an awful lot to do. From there, we went to Tangier. It was a beautiful Medina, probably one of our favourite Medinas, and had some of the best prices that we saw everywhere in Morocco. Lots of things to see in Tangier and outside of Tangier. It's got a really interesting recent history as well. We thought it was a very, very livable city. We actually had an apartment in the old part of Tangier, which we loved, so felt like we were living in Tangier. Would we go back to Tangier? Definitely. If we were to go back to Morocco for a long period of time, Tangier is where we would choose to live. Just felt really relaxed and calm in Tangier. So for our accommodation, we stayed in riads, the local Moroccan. So the riads are Moroccan houses that have been converted into guest houses. Each one is unique. They're very personable. The staff were always great, and they have a small number of rooms, so you get that more personalised feeling. Breakfast is usually included with most of them. Lots of breads. Sometimes you get pastries. Usually there's egg, juice, tea and coffee. Sometimes fruit. Different riads offered different breakfasts, so generally they were really good. But after 4 weeks of getting a lot of bread, we were kind of over having the same style of breakfast every day. The riads are also located in the Medinas, so they're really easy for getting out and exploring from your accommodation. When we were in Marrakech, we booked a trip into the Atlas Mountains for a day. That was lovely. It was nice to get out of the heat and up into the mountains where it was a bit cooler. And from Marrakech, we also did a 2-night Sahara Desert tour. Highly recommend, if you've got the time, to get out to the Sahara Desert. We did the camels over Chebi in the Mazuga Desert. That was such a wonderful experience. Highly recommend that. We booked it through Viator. They have loads of options. Our Sahara Desert trip was through Morocco Global Adventures. Highly recommend them. For €100, we got our transport, including the camel rides in the evening and in the morning. 2 nights accommodation, which included breakfast and dinners, and we got stops to see the sights, so the Dadas Gorge and Todra Valley. Our research did say that we should do the luxury version of these tours, but unless you're exceptionally fussy and have an unlimited budget, the cheaper options, ours was a cheaper option. It was excellent, excellent value for money. If you are going to be travelling from Marrakech to Fez, you can do these desert tours so that they start in Marrakech and end up in Fez. It would be a good way to get from Marrakech to Fez and do some sightseeing on the way. Always compare your prices. Like I said, Morocco Global Adventures had great prices and we were really happy with what they offered. So if you do decide to book a holiday to Morocco, enjoy your trip, go with an open mind and be prepared to experience a wonderful culture.